So here we are live. So I hope all of you. So there's a bit of an echo. So I hear there's a bit of an echo. Can you guys also hear an echo? Okay. All right. So it looks like it sounds great. So let me just take off my AirPods.
Hi, Afrozy. Could you or unmute your microphone? Let me just check. It was working perfectly. Are you able to refresh your screen? Try refreshing your screen. That normally helps to reconnect. Please bear with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, everyone. This is
That's
Afrozy.
perfect. That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I hope you can hear me okay. Okay, because I'm able to hear an echo. All right. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. Yes, that was exactly right. There was another tab open. See, that's it with technology. There's always a solution, but you have to find it. Thank you so much for the clue. And so now it's great. I can hear you guys clearly, and I'm also sharing my screen. So so first off, I'm super excited to be talking to all of you, and I hope you're excited about this subject too. So I'm excited to be here, excited to be talking to a bunch of young aspiring data scientists. And the topic that I want to talk to you about is how data science can help you see things differently. So you might have seen the other talks and the other talks, and I saw there was a fantastic lineup of talks that were there before me. So in this talk, what I wanted to really cover is um, first, let's talk about what data science is, and from the lens of what it is, and then how it can help you look at the world differently. So we are, as data scientists, the key thing that's important for us is being curious about the world and being able to look at the same data that's there around the world in a different way. And I want to show you through the examples that I have here. So let's dive right in. So, for anything, the first question really is let us understand what data science is. And for many of you who have gone through the sessions before, data science is a subject that uses methods from maths, science, and computers to get insights from all types of data. And these insights can be used to make decisions. So some big words here. I'm sure the words that you would recognize well from your past is, there is maths, there is science, and there is computers. So these are three different subjects. And data science is really a combination of application, applying the learnings from these three subjects to get insights from all types of data. So the three interesting words here, one is data, the other one is insights, and the third one is decisions. So what is data? Data is whatever is around you. It is data. Your you send emails. It is some kind of data that's captured in an email form. You kind of write something, that's data that's captured in a written form. We speak and you make a recording, you have a video, that is data captured in a video form. But then all of this data can give us an answer. And data science is really about taking all of this data, getting to an answer that's hidden inside all of this data, and making some decisions that is going to help us in the future. So that's really what data science is in its essence. And how can data science help you see things differently? So that's the topic that I want to cover. And there are really three things here. What data science can help you do is understand the past better, which is understand what happened in the past better. It can help you predict the future better, which is figure out, given that this is what had happened in the past, this is what is expected to happen in the future. And data can also help you see patterns hidden in numbers and letters. And these three parts of it is how I would want you to look at data in a different way now and say, okay, this is what the data is, but what is it really trying to tell me? It's trying to help me understand what's happened in the past better. I can use this data to predict the future, and I can also, there are also some patterns hidden in plain sight that I can use to through this data to understand the world better. So those are really the three key things. And I know you guys are using the chat, and kids nowadays are so good at texting. So definitely, if you have any questions or anything that you see in my presentation that you find interesting, please feel free to add your question in the chat, and towards the end of the presentation I'll try to take your question. Okay, so now these are three things we talked about: understanding the past better, what has happened better. So let's look at examples of this and how data can help us. So let's pick up the first part, understanding what happened better. So meet Alberto. He's a fun kid. He loves skating. He loves jumping in muddy puddles, as you can see him doing now. And Alberto is visiting his grandparents to spend time with them over summer. And I'm sure all of you are also having some fun things over summer. Kids get to do that, which grown-ups don't. We got to work over summer, but that's a different discussion. Let's table that separately. So Alberto is having fun. He's meeting his grandparents. He's living with his grandparents, and he has made four friends, kids who live near his grandparents. And there are four friends. There is Aditya, Allison, John, and Vihan. And Alberto met one friend every day in June, and they played every single day in June. So, in summary, Alberto had a lot of fun. Okay. So now let's look at Alberto's calendar. We took Alberto's calendar in June, and then I said he played with four friends. So we color coded each friend, and we filled up which friend he played with on which date. So first June, there's a blue dot. He played with Allison. On Wednesday, 2nd June, he played with Aditya. On Thursday, also, he played with Aditya. So that's how Alberto's calendar looks like. Pretty busy playing with friends. Now, if I were to ask you, take a look at all this data, information, whatever data I put in front of you, and tell me, can you give me a good guess of who Alberto's best friend was over the next summer? So that's the question that we want to answer. And if I want to go back to what I just explained, what you see now is the data. I see Alberto's calendar. We want to take this data, we want to get some information out of it, and then we want to get the insight out of it. And the insight is the question: who was Alberto's best friend over the summer? So now let's try to do that. So first, what we do is we take every day from Alberto's calendar, and then we list down, okay, first day, who did we play with? Second day, who did he play with? Then what we did was we took all that data and then we converted into a graph, a bar chart. And I know many of you have worked on reading data and data interpretation, so you're very familiar with this. You know, we took all of that data and below every graph, the question is, how many times did Alberto play with his friend? So he played, what, 8 times with Aditya, 6 times with Vihan, 3 times with Allison, and 14, 13 times with John. So who do you think is Alberto's best friend? It is most likely that John was Alberto's best friend over the summer. And that is an insight. So from a calendar, which was boring, I got this insight that, hey, John was Alberto's best friend over summer. And that's really what data science helps you do. It helps you look into the past, take the data, and understand the future better, understand the past better. Now, the interesting thing is that the past in itself can help you understand the future. So let's look at an example of how data science can help you predict the future better. So we have the same cast of characters. We have Alberto and John. Now we know they are best friends and they have an idea. They want to make money over summer and they set up a lemonade stand. So they started with making 20 glasses of lemonade every day. And someday it happens that they sell out too quickly. On other days, they have to throw out the leftovers. Now, what should they do? So they don't want to waste the lemonade because it's wastage of money, but they don't want to lose out on customers also, because if they make too little, then they will lose out on customers. So what should Alberto and John do? This is a typical problem for any business. So Alberta and John, they're pretty smart. Here's what they do. They make a table. This is they note down on every date how many glasses of lemonade did they sell. Okay, this is not how many glasses they made. This is how many glasses of lemonade they sold. So what it helps them understand is, what is the demand? How much of lemonade is wanted out there by their customers? And then they plotted these numbers on a graph. So glasses of sold, lemonade sold every day, they plotted on the graph. Do you see something interesting in that graph? You see this graph? It has like, it's not a straight line. It's not totally crazy or random. It follows a pattern. And that's the really cool thing about data, that you will almost feel like a detective every time you see it, just like Sherlock Holmes sees a couple of clues and he can figure out who the murderer is or who the culprit is. We as data scientists look at data and figure out what the data is really telling us. So now if I go back to the calendar, I see 5th and 6th June, Saturday and Sunday. 12th and 13th June, Saturday and Sunday. 19th and 20th June, Saturday and Sunday. So you see the fun thing? There is the number of glasses of lemonade jumps up on weekends, and it is pretty much between 10 and 20 on weekdays, but on weekends it jumps up and it's between 20 and 30. Now if I look at this whole pattern and I'm trying to predict the future, so the one thing that I understand is, there is lower number of glasses of lemonade sold during weekdays compared to weekends, which is obvious. You see this jump on weekends. Now on the next weekend, so till June 20th, they have listed down this pattern. So what about when comes June 26th? That's the next weekend. How much of glasses of lemonade should they make every day? So they can pretty much take this past and they can predict the future, which is this orange line. And there are many methods to do that. And Those are things that you can learn as you learn data scientist. But you can pretty much take all this past, predict the future, and then with that they can make the exact number of lemonade. No, maybe not the very exact number, but with the minimum amount of wastage. So you see what happens when they make 20, they lose almost 5 every day. And when they make 20, five glasses of lemonade are say wasted and not used. And on weekend, they lose 5 more customers because weekend is around between 20 to 30. So they can go and be more exact in the amount of lemonade that they make to make a very profitable business. So this is a second example of how you can use data science to predict the future. Now, the third example is actually cooler. It's super complex, and there is a lot that goes behind the scenes to make it happen. But you see this every day and everywhere. So you go to Netflix, and yeah, well, let's talk about the story. So this the cast of characters in this story is George and John. So they are movie buffs and they love watching action movies on Netflix. So George and John, they love watching movies on Netflix, and the example here is George and John don't know this yet, but Netflix knows a lot about them. And Netflix uses that information to find them movies that it thinks that they would like. So can you guess what's the kind of data that Netflix uses? So so George and John are kids and they go to the kids profile. So Netflix knows that they are kids. George and John have watched a lot of action movies. So Netflix knows that George and John actually have watched the action movies. There are many movies that George and John would have started. George would have started, but he wouldn't have finished. So Netflix thinks, maybe this is a movie that George doesn't like. Similarly, there are movies that might come up in George's recommendations, but George never picks them or never goes to a certain category of movies. So Netflix knows, okay, this is not of George's interest. So you see, everything that you do on Netflix, Netflix is using that information to make your experience with Netflix better. Netflix wants you to have fun and wants you to see the movies that you enjoy the most. So, how does Netflix use that information to find patterns? So, the fun part is, and actually the most interesting part of it is, Netflix uses the information on George and then gets the information on George. And because George and John are similar, if George watches a movie, they think that, okay, John will also watch that movie. So you see that how that pattern gets picked up. It's not only for you that the information that you've learned gets used, but it also gets used on others. So an example of it is George and John. So they have been watching on in their own homes. George goes on his mom's uh, Netflix profile, or John watches on his own kids' profile, perhaps. And George watches Star Trek. John watches Star Trek. And then Netflix knows that George and John are very similar users. So if George has watched movies which are very similar to the ones that John has watched, or Netflix knows the time of the day when George and John go and watch movies are similar. So Netflix knows that they are similar users. So the interesting thing is when George watches a Star Trek movie, John also watches a Star Trek movie. Netflix knows that they have watched these movies. Now, there's a third Star Trek movie that has come up, which is the Voyager Home. George has watched it. So Netflix thinks that, if George is similar to John and George has watched Star Trek The Voyage Home, then John will also like the Star Trek Voyage Home. So Netflix shows this movie to John. So the attributes or the characteristics of John and George, which is their age, their interests, and the characteristics of the movie, which is Star Trek, action, adventure, all of those are patterns which Netflix uses to make your experience better. So I've just scratched the surface of things, but I hope I got you interested. So this is really some of the ways in which data science can help you see things differently. Thank you for listening. I hope you like this presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Here is my email ID. So I will pass it on back here. So any questions? Some people are excited about the names, John and Aditya. Okay. All right. Also, I see you is giving me answers to who is. Yeah, you were right. I think I got many guesses and quite a few right ones. In fact, all of them right ones. See, all of you are smart already. You don't need anyone to come tell you about data science. All right. So this is really the end of my presentation. Anything else? Like I said, this is my email ID. Please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for being a great audience. And I'll stop sharing now and I'll check if there is anything else that you would want me to cover. Any questions from people? Would you like to ask me any question? I'll be happy to answer. Okay, all right. In that case, thank you for being a great audience and good talking to you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.